Security officer Grastuk hated his job. No, that wasn't quite right. Security officer Grastuk absolutely, unequivocally, with every fiber of his being, loathed his job. 15 cycles spent guarding the most secure military prison in the Var Dominion, and what did he have to show for it? Sore feet, 3 failed relationships, and a drinking habit that would make his ancestors weep with shame. "Hey, Graz, wake up." "New specimen arriving in 10 minutes, barked Lieutenant Prax from down the corridor. Grastuk's facial tentacles coiled in annoyance. "Specimen? Don't tell me they are bringing in another one of those weird quadrupeds from Sector 7? Prax let out a wheezing laugh that sounded like someone stepping on a deflating balloon. "Nah, much better. Command captured one of those creatures from that backwater planet. You know the ones. 2 arms, 2 legs, soft skin, not very bright. Calls themselves humans, I think." Grastuk's interest perked up slightly. Humans. He'd heard stories about these creatures. Supposedly they were from a heavy gravity world, which explained their dense musculature despite their unimpressive appearance. But they were considered mostly harmless. A curiosity at best. Why bring one here? "This facility is for the most dangerous prisoners in the Dominion," Grastuk grumbled, straightening his uniform and checking his stun baton. Prax shrugged, his armored shoulder plates clicking together. Orders from the Supreme Commander himself. This one apparently stole some classified tech and managed to evade capture for almost 3 standard months. They are calling him the Ghost. The Ghost? Really? You military types and your dramatic names. Grastuk rolled all 4 of his eyes simultaneously, a gesture of supreme exasperation in Var culture. Next you will be telling me he can walk through walls. Mock all you want, but they have assigned him to maximum security cell 42. Triple restraints, constant surveillance, the works. Now that was interesting. Cell 42 was reserved for the truly dangerous. The kind of prisoners that made even seasoned guards like Grastuk nervous. "What's this human's name?" Grastuk asked, trying to sound casual. "Prisoner designation H7729. But the report says his name is Jack Turner." Grastuk practiced the strange name in his mind. Jack. Tur. Near. Such odd, clipped sounds these humans used. No poetry to it at all. The transport ship docked with precise efficiency. Grastuk and 5 other guards assembled in the receiving bay, weapons ready. Standard procedure, though Grastuk thought it was overkill for a single human. The airlock hissed open. 4 elite Dominion soldiers marched out, surrounding a figure in the center. The human was considerably shorter than any of the Var, maybe 2/3 their height. He wore heavy restraints that seemed almost comically large on his frame, thick metal cuffs around his wrists and ankles connected by glowing energy tethers, and a control collar around his neck. Despite all this, the human walked with an easy confidence that immediately put Grastuk on edge. His head swiveled, taking in everything. When those eyes, an unsettling blue color, landed on Grastuk, the guard felt an involuntary shiver run down his spine ridges. "This is the dangerous criminal? He looks like he would snap in a strong breeze," quipped one of the younger guards next. As if hearing the comment, the human's mouth curved upward at the corners. A smile Grastuk recalled from his xenobiology training. But there was something off about this one. It didn't reach those cold blue eyes. Prisoner transfer complete. "He's your problem now," said the transport commander, handing over a data pad for Grastuk to sign. "Any special handling instructions?" Grastuk asked, suddenly feeling like he should know more about this creature. "Don't remove the restraints. Don't get within arm's reach. Don't listen to anything he says." The commander's voice was flat, but his eye stalks were fully extended, a sign of extreme alertness or fear in their species. "Is he that persuasive?" Grastuk asked, genuinely curious. The commander looked at the human, then back to Grastuk. "We started with 6 guards. I'm the only one left alive." With that cheerful thought, the transport team departed, leaving Grastuk and his team alone with their new prisoner. "Move," ordered Prax, prodding the human with his stun baton. Jack Turner, if that was indeed his name, complied without complaint. His gait was smooth despite the ankle restraints, almost graceful. Grastuk found himself watching the human's hands. They were strange appendages, 5 digits, opposable thumbs, no claws to speak of. How had such vulnerable-looking extremities caused so much trouble? Cell 42 was at the heart of the prison complex. 3 security checkpoints, 2 decontamination chambers, and 1 final biometric scan later they arrived at the reinforced door. Home sweet home. The human spoke for the first time, his voice surprisingly deep and resonant for such a small creature. "You boys really went all out." "Silence," snapped Prax, though Grastuk noticed a flicker of unease in his superior's posture. The human's perfect VAR speech was unsettling. Most species required translation devices, but this one spoke as if he'd been born on their home world. The cell door slid open with a heavy thunk. Inside was sparse, a sleep platform, a waste reclamation unit, and nothing else. The walls were 3 feet of solid metal alloy, supposedly unbreakable. In ordered Prax. The human stepped inside, then turned to face them. Those blue eyes scanned each guard in turn, lingering just long enough to make them uncomfortable. When he reached Grastuk, the human winked, a peculiar gesture involving one eyelid closing briefly. "See you soon," he said pleasantly. The door slammed shut. "What a peculiar creature," muttered Nex as they walked away. "Hard to believe all the stories." "What stories?" asked Grastuk. "You haven't heard? They say on his home planet he was some kind of specialized killer. An assassin, I think they call it." Grastuk scoffed. "Every prisoner has a dramatic backstory. Next you will tell me he single-handedly destroyed a battle cruiser." Nex's facial tentacles twitched nervously. "Actually." Oh, for the love of the 7 moons, not you too." Grastuk threw his upper limbs up in exasperation. "He's just a human. A thief, maybe, but nothing more. Look at him. No natural weapons, no significant armor, mediocre senses at best." "Then why is the Supreme Commander so interested in him?" countered Prax. And that, unfortunately, was a good question. 3 shifts later, Grastuk found himself assigned to monitor duty. Alone in the security hub, surrounded by view screens showing every cell in the facility. His attention kept drifting to cell 42. The human hadn't moved in hours. He sat cross-legged on the floor, not even using the sleep platform, with his eyes closed. Meditation, perhaps? Some kind of human rest state? A notification pinged on Grastuk's console. The human's vital signs were unusual. Heart rate extremely low, respiration barely detectable. If Grastuk didn't know better, he'd think the creature was dying. Computer. "Analyze prisoner H7729's current physical state," he ordered. "Analysis complete," responded the artificial intelligence. "Prisoner appears to be in a self-induced trance state. Similar patterns observed in certain predatory species before hunting." Well, that wasn't ominous at all. Grastuk's communicator buzzed. "Officer Grastuk, report to the command center immediately." The command center was in an uproar when he arrived. Supreme Commander Vrazik himself was on the main screen, his massive form dominating the display. "I don't care what protocols you have to break," the commander was saying, his voice like gravel in a metal grinder. "I want that human interrogated now. Find out what he knows about Project Sunfall." Project Sunfall? Grastuk had never heard of it, but from the reactions of the senior officers it was clearly important. "Sir, with all due respect," Captain Mord was saying, his usual confidence notably absent. "The prisoner has been uncooperative. Standard interrogation methods have proven ineffective." "Then use non-standard methods," growled the commander. "Yet, human has information that could compromise the entire Dominion. Break him." The screen went black. Captain Mord noticed Grastuk hovering by the entrance. "Officer Grastuk, prepare interrogation chamber 3, full suite of equipment, and bring the human." Grastuk saluted. "Yes, sir." Retrieving the prisoner required a team of 6 guards. Despite the human not having caused any trouble yet, protocol demanded maximum security. Grastuk led the team to cell 42, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. The human was exactly as Grastuk had seen on the monitor, sitting cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed. He didn't react when the door opened. Prisoner H7729, stand up. You are being moved, Grastuk announced. Those blue eyes opened slowly. The human uncurled from his position with fluid grace, rising to his feet in one smooth motion that somehow seemed impossible given his restraints. Where to, Officer Grastuk? The human asked pleasantly. Grastuk froze. He hadn't introduced himself to the prisoner. How did he know his name? The human smiled, that same disconcerting expression that didn't reach his eyes. You have a nameplate, he explained, gesturing with his chin toward Grastuk's uniform. Of course. The nameplate. Nothing sinister about that. Interrogation, Grastuk answered stiffly. Move. Ah, said the human, stepping forward. I was wondering when we'd get to that part. The walk to interrogation chamber 3 was tense. The human moved calmly between his guards, seemingly unbothered by his situation. Occasionally he would comment on features of the prison, interesting security design, or those force fields are using Teresian technology, aren't they? Observations that were both accurate and unsettling. The interrogation chamber was deliberately intimidating, stark lighting, a metal chair bolted to the floor in the center, and an array of implements arranged neatly on a side table. Captain Mord waited inside, along with a medical officer and a neural specialist. Secure him to the chair, ordered Mord. The guards moved the human into position, locking his restraints into the chair's integrated security system. Only when the confirmation lights turned green did Grastuk allow himself to relax slightly. Leave us, Mord commanded. Except you, Grastuk. You stay. The other guards filed out. Grastuk stood at attention near the door, wishing he were anywhere else. Prisoner H7729, also known as Jack Turner, began Mord, circling the chair slowly. You are going to tell us everything you know about Project Sunfall. The human's head tilted slightly. Am I? That sounds time-consuming. I have a busy schedule today. Mord's tentacles tightened, a sign of anger. You find this amusing? Perhaps you won't when we begin extracting the information directly from your nervous system. About that, said the human, his voice still conversational. I'm curious, did you actually read my complete file? Or just the highlights? Mord paused. What are you talking about? My file. My actual file. Not the sanitized version your superiors gave you. The human sighed dramatically. I'm guessing not. A pity. It would have saved us all some trouble. Enough. Mord nodded to the neural specialist. Prepare the extractor. The specialist approached with a device that resembled a metal crown bristling with needles. Grastuk winced. Neural extraction was notoriously painful, often leaving subjects with permanent brain damage. Last chance to cooperate willingly, warned Mord. The human looked directly at Grastuk, not Mord. You might want to step back, Officer Grastuk. This is about to get messy. Something in that calm voice sent alarm bells ringing through Grastuk's mind. He found himself taking an involuntary step backward. The neural specialist placed the crown on the human's head, adjusting it to fit his smaller skull. The needles hovered millimeters above his scalp. Commencing extraction in 3, 2, the specialist began. The human closed his eyes. 1. Several things happened simultaneously. The power flickered throughout the facility, just for a second, but enough to reset the security systems. The restraints on the chair unlocked and immediately relocked, but in that fraction of a second, the human moved. How he moved so fast, Grastuk would never understand. One moment the human was secured to the chair, the next he was standing, the neural crown in his hand, and the specialist was on the floor, unconscious or dead. Mord reached for his weapon, but the human was faster. He swung the neural crown like a weapon, its needles tearing through Mord's facial tentacles. The captain screamed, a high-pitched sound that hurt Grastook's auditory receptors. The medical officer tried to flee, but the human, somehow free of all restraints now, grabbed her by the neck and used her body as a shield as Grastook finally managed to draw his own weapon. "Don't," said the human softly. "Please." Grastook's finger hovered over the trigger. "Let her go. You can't escape this facility." The human's expression changed then, the fake pleasantness dropping away to reveal something cold and calculating. "I never intended to escape, Officer Grastook." "That's not why I'm here." "Then why?" Grastook found himself asking, weapon still trained on the human but suddenly uncertain. "Because your government has something that belongs to us. Something they stole." The human's grip tightened on the medical officer, making her gasp. "And I'm here to take it back." "You? Alone? Against an entire military prison?" The human smiled again. And this time it did reach his eyes, turning them into something predatory and alien. "Who said I was alone?" At that exact moment, every alarm in the facility began to wail. The human looked up at the ceiling as if he could see through it to the stars beyond. "Right on time," he murmured. Then, to Grastook, "I'm going to give you one chance, officer. More than your people gave mine. Drop your weapon, help me find what I came for, and you get to live. Fight me, and you will join Captain Mord and his friends here." Grastook should have fired. It was his duty. But something in those alien blue eyes told him this human would not die easily, if at all. His weapon clattered to the floor. "Smart choice," said the human, said Jack Turner. "Now, take me to Section 0. And don't tell me you don't know what that is, because every guard in this place knows there's a secret level below the official ones." Grastook swallowed hard. "What's in Section 0? Jack released the medical officer, who collapsed gasping to the floor. He stepped closer to Grastook, and despite being shorter, somehow loomed over him. "The future of humanity," he said simply, "and the end of the Var Dominion if your leaders don't return what they stole." Above them, the sounds of weapons fire and screams began to filter through the ceiling. Whatever was happening in the rest of the prison, it wasn't good for the guards. "Who are you, really?" Grastook asked, fear making his voice tremble. Jack picked up Grastook's fallen weapon, examining it with expert eyes. "Just a prisoner," he said lightly. Then he looked up, and there was nothing light in his expression at all, until the chains snapped and the screams began. The corridors of the prison had transformed into a war zone. Emergency lighting bathed everything in pulsing red. Smoke filled the air, acrid and stinging. Grastook led the way, his mind racing through possible scenarios, each more hopeless than the last. "How many of you are there?" he asked over his shoulder, having to shout over the blaring alarms. Jack Turner kept pace easily, moving with the fluid grace of a predator. The human was examining Grastook's weapon as they ran, familiarizing himself with its functions. "Enough," he replied cryptically. A group of guards rounded the corner ahead, weapons raised. Grastook threw himself flat against the wall, but Jack didn't even break stride. The human fired 3 perfect shots, not killing blasts, Grastook noticed, but precision stuns that dropped the guards instantly. "You didn't kill them," Grastook said, surprised. Jack glanced back, those unsettling blue eyes momentarily puzzled. "Should I have? They are just doing their jobs." He gestured impatiently. "Section 0. "Which way?" "The elevator shaft at the end of this corridor. But it requires captain-level clearance." Jack patted Mord's security badge, which he'd taken before leaving the interrogation chamber. "Got it covered." They reached the elevator, a heavily fortified tube that supposedly went only to the bottom level of the prison. But Grastook knew the truth. There was another level below, unmarked on any official blueprint. Jack slapped Mord's badge against the scanner. The doors remained closed. "Biometric verification required," announced the system. Jack sighed. Always a complication, He turned to Grastuk. Options? Before Grastuk could answer, his comm unit buzzed. He hesitated, then answered it. Officer Grastuk, report your status immediately. It was Lieutenant Prax, sounding terrified. Jack raised an eyebrow, silently telling Grastuk to play along. Lieutenant. Thank the stars you are alive, Grastuk improvised. The human escaped during interrogation. He's killed Captain Mord and is heading for the North Quadrant. The North? But that's… Wait, where are you now? South Quadrant, Section 8. I'm pursuing other intruders. They are everywhere, sir. Jack nodded approvingly. Hold position. I'm sending reinforcements, Prax ordered. No, sir. Too dangerous. Focus on protecting the command center. I will report when I can. Grastuk cut the connection before Prax could argue. Nice work, said Jack. But we still need to get past this door. Grastuk hesitated only briefly before making his decision. He placed his hand on the scanner. Computer, Security Override Protocol Epsilon 9. Officer Grastuk, ID 47291. Emergency evacuation of Section 0. Warning. Protocol Epsilon 9 requires secondary authorization, the computer responded. Secondary authorization, Captain Mord, ID 10478. Grastuk recited the code he wasn't supposed to know, but had memorized after glimpsing it on Mord's console months ago. Voice print on file. The computer paused, then override accepted. Emergency evacuation protocol engaged. The elevator doors slid open. Jack gave Grastuk an impressed look. You are full of surprises, officer. I have worked here 15 cycles. You learn things, Grastuk replied, stepping into the elevator. Also, I hate Mord. Sanctimonious tentacle preener. The human's mouth twitched in what might have been genuine amusement. Enemy of my enemy. Something like that. The elevator plunged downward, much deeper than Grastuk had expected. The temperature dropped noticeably. What exactly are we looking for in Section 0? Grastuk asked. You don't know what's down there? No one of my rank is allowed access. Rumors say it's where they keep the really dangerous stuff. Experimental weapons, forbidden technology, that sort of thing. Jack nodded slowly. Close enough. The Var Dominion raided a human research vessel 6 months ago. They took something vital to our species' future. What could be so important? The human's expression turned grim. The cure for extinction. Before Grastuk could process that, the elevator slowed to a halt. The doors opened onto a vast chamber that looked nothing like the rest of the prison. This was a high-tech research facility, all gleaming surfaces and advanced equipment. And bodies. At least a dozen Var scientists lay sprawled across the floor. Your friends have been busy, Grastuk noted, stunned. Jack stepped out cautiously, checking for threats. You're not my team. These people have been dead for hours. That sent a chill through Grastuk's spine ridges. Then who? Freeze. Hands where I can see them. The command came from behind a bank of computers. A figure rose into view, another human, female, with dark skin and hair cropped close to her skull. She held a Var weapon, but modified somehow, sleeker and more deadly looking. Michaela, Jack said, lowering his weapon. Right on schedule. The female human, Michaela, kept her weapon trained on Grastuk. Who's your friend? Officer Grastuk. He's helping us. Since when do we trust the enemy? Since this particular enemy chose to help rather than die, Jack replied evenly. Status report? Michaela reluctantly lowered her weapon. Teams 2 and 3 have secured the upper levels. The extraction team is standing by. But we have a problem. She gestured toward a sealed door at the far end of the chamber. The package is in there, but the door requires a genetic key from the project lead. And let me guess, Jack said. The project lead is among our departed friends here? Bingo. Director Vex. I have been trying to bypass the security, but their systems are resilient. Grastuk stepped forward. Director Vex? Short tentacles, orange markings on his carapace. Both humans looked at him with sudden interest. "You know him?" Michaela asked. "He comes up to the regular prison sometimes for special interrogations, always acting superior, always leaving with data crystals." Grasstook surveyed the bodies until he found what he was looking for. "That's him there." Jack moved to the corpse Grasstook indicated. "We need his genetic signature. Ideas?" Michaela pulled out a small device, molecular scanner. "If I can get a clean read on his unique pattern, maybe I can spoof the system." As she worked, Jack turned to Grasstook. "I'm curious, why are you really helping us? You could have raised the alarm, fought back, or simply refused to cooperate." Grasstook's facial tentacles curled inward, a gesture of discomfort. "Because something's wrong here. The VAR Dominion doesn't steal from other species. We conquer, yes, we subjugate, certainly. But theft, especially of medical research, that's dishonorable." "Honor matters to you?" "I'm a prison guard, not a monster," Grasstook retorted. "And I have seen things in this facility, experiments on sentient beings, disappearances of prisoners who ask too many questions. The Dominion I pledged to serve wouldn't do such things." Jack studied him with those penetrating blue eyes. "Sometimes governments change, and the people don't notice until it's too late." "Got it," Michaela exclaimed. "I have isolated his genetic signature. Uploading to the door lock now." The sealed door hissed, then slowly swung open. Inside was a single pedestal, upon which rested a container roughly the size of Grasstook's fist. It glowed with a soft blue light. "Is that it?" Grasstook asked, somehow expecting something more impressive. "That's it," Jack confirmed, approaching the pedestal carefully. 20 years of research, billions in funding, and the hopes of humanity in one little box. "What exactly is it?" Jack picked up the container with reverent care. "A synthesized retrovirus designed to repair damaged genetic sequences. Humanity has been fighting a losing battle against a degenerative condition affecting our reproductive capabilities. Each generation, our fertility rates drop. This is the cure." Michaela's comm unit beeped. She listened, then turned to Jack. "Extraction team reports increased resistance. We need to move." Jack nodded and handed the container to Michaela, who secured it in a specialized harness she wore. "Get that to the ship. I will be right behind you." "What about him?" She jerked her chin toward Grasstook. Jack glanced at the VAR officer. "He comes with us. The Dominion will execute him for helping us." "I can't leave." Grasstook protested. "This is my home." "Your home just became a death sentence," Jack said bluntly. "The moment you helped us, you signed your own execution order. But we take care of our allies." A massive explosion rocked the facility, sending dust and debris showering down from the ceiling. "That's our cue," Michaela said grimly. "North extraction point in 5 minutes. Don't be late." With that, she sprinted for a different exit than the one they'd entered through. Jack turned to Grasstook. "Last chance. Come with us or take your chances here." Another explosion, closer this time. Alarms changed pitch, becoming more urgent. Self-destruct sequence initiated, announced the facility AI. All personnel evacuate immediately. 15 minutes to detonation. "That wasn't us," Jack said, suddenly alert. "Who else is here?" A new voice answered from the shadows. "Isn't it obvious, human? Those who truly rule the Dominion." A figure stepped into view, a VAR, but unlike any Grasstook had seen before. Taller, with iridescent scales and 6 eyes instead of 4. Its tentacles moved with unnatural precision. "Grand Executor Zoltan," Grasstook whispered, recognizing the legendary head of Dominion intelligence from official broadcasts. Zoltan's gaze fixed on Jack. "The famous ghost." "I expected someone more impressive." "Sorry to disappoint," Jack replied, weapon raised. "Mind explaining why you are blowing up your own facility?" "Loose ends, of course. The human retrovirus project has yielded all useful data. These researchers know too much, and the Dominion Council has grown uncomfortable with certain operations. Like stealing medical research from other species? Jack suggested. Zoltan's mouthparts clicked in what might have been laughter. Stealing? No. Confiscating dangerous bioweapons. Yes. Bioweapon? Grastuk echoed, confused. He said it was a cure. A matter of perspective, Zoltan replied smoothly. One species' cure is another's extinction. Did your human friend mention that their retrovirus, once released into an ecosystem, adapts to and rewrites the genetic code of any species it encounters? The humans weren't just curing themselves. They were ensuring their genetic dominance across the galaxy. Jack's expression didn't change, but Grastuk saw his grip tighten on his weapon. That's a lie. The virus is species-specific. Perhaps the version your scientists developed. But we have made improvements. Zoltan gestured to the research equipment around them. Why cure only humans when you could remake all life in your image? Efficient. Elegant. Genocide without a single shot fired. That's insane, Grastuk said, looking between Jack and Zoltan. The Dominion would never. The Dominion does what is necessary for survival. Zoltan cut him off. As do the humans. As does every species. The only difference is who strikes first. Jack fired without warning, but Zoltan moved with impossible speed, dodging the blast. The Grand Executor drew his own weapon, not a standard issue, but something sleeker, deadlier. You think you are the only ones with advanced technology? Zoltan's voice held genuine amusement now. We have been adapting human tech for decades. Your people aren't as unique as you believe. Another explosion rocked the facility. Chunks of ceiling crashed down, forcing both Jack and Zoltan to dive for cover. 13 minutes to detonation, the AI reminded them pleasantly. Grastuk found himself separated from Jack by a fallen support beam. Zoltan was nowhere to be seen. Jack, he called out, we need to go. Not without making sure he's dead, Jack replied, scanning the debris-filled room. Are you insane? This place is about to vaporize. If he's not dead from that, he will be soon. The human hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Fine. Let's move. They ran for the exit Michaela had used, navigating through increasingly unstable corridors. The entire facility was coming apart around them. What if Zoltan was telling the truth? Grastuk asked as they ran. About the virus being adaptable to other species? He wasn't, Jack replied firmly. Our scientists built in genetic limiters. It only works on human DNA. But your people are desperate, facing extinction by your own admission. Desperate people take desperate measures. Jack stopped abruptly, turning to face Grastuk. Do you want to know why I was selected for this mission, Officer Grastuk? Because I lost everything to the genetic plague. My wife, my daughter, my entire bloodline ended. I would do anything to prevent other humans from experiencing that pain. He stepped closer, intensity radiating from him. But not at the cost of becoming monsters. We are better than that. We have to be. Something in those blue eyes convinced Grastuk more than any words could. He nodded. Then let's get that cure home. They resumed running, navigating the maze-like structure of Section 0. Twice they encountered Dominion soldiers, and twice Jack dispatched them with non-lethal efficiency. 10 minutes to detonation, the AI announced. The extraction point should be just ahead, Jack said, pointing to a maintenance shaft that sloped upward. It leads to a surface access port outside the main prison perimeter. They began climbing, the shaft narrow and claustrophobic. Grastuk's bulkier frame made progress difficult. Humans and your tiny passages, he grumbled. Would it kill your engineers to consider other species? Jack actually laughed, a genuine sound of amusement. Considering this is a prison designed to hold those other species against their will, I'd say you don't have much ground for complaint. Fair point. They emerged into what appeared to be a maintenance bay for exterior security drones. Through a large bay door, Grastuk could see the barren landscape of the moon where the prison was located. A sleek vessel hovered just outside, clearly human design, all curves and gleaming surfaces. Michaela stood at the entrance, waving urgently. "Move it." "We have got incoming." Jack sprinted for the ship, Grastuk close behind. They were halfway across the open space when energy blasts erupted around them, scorching the ground at their feet. "Always with the dramatic exits," Jack muttered, returning fire over his shoulder without slowing. They reached the ship, Michaela covering their approach with suppressive fire. Jack pushed Grastuk aboard first, then jumped in after him. "Everyone accounted for," called a voice from the cockpit, another human male with facial hair. "Package secured, Marcus." "Get us out of here," Michaela replied, sealing the hatch. The ship rocketed upward just as Dominion fighters appeared on the horizon. The acceleration pressed Grastuk into his seat, his inner organs shifting uncomfortably. 5 minutes to detonation, came the prison AI's voice, somehow patched through to the ship's comm system. "Cutting it close," Marcus shouted from the cockpit. "Hold on to something." The vessel banked hard, then accelerated at a rate that seemed physically impossible. G-forces slammed Grastuk back, his vision narrowing to a tunnel. And then nothing. No sensation of movement at all, despite the stars streaking past the viewports. "Inertial dampeners engaged," announced the ship's AI. "Jump drive charging." 30 seconds to translation. Jack strapped himself into a seat across from Grastuk. "First time on a human vessel?" Grastuk nodded, too disoriented to speak. "The sensation passes. Your equilibrium will adjust." Behind them, through the rear viewport, a blinding flash erupted where the prison had been. The shockwave expanded outward, a perfect sphere of destruction. "Did everyone make it out?" Grastuk asked, thinking of the other guards, the administrative staff, people who had no idea what was happening in Section 0. Jack's expression softened slightly. "My team evacuated as many non-combatants as possible. Your friend Prax made it out. Next too. We are not monsters, remember?" Relief flooded through Grastuk, followed immediately by the crushing realization that he could never go back. "What happens to me now?" "That depends on you," Jack said. "We can drop you at any neutral port in the sector. Or you could come with us. The Dominion has been lying to its citizens. Maybe it's time they heard the truth from someone they might actually believe." "Ooh, a defector, you mean?" Grastuk's tentacles curled in distaste. "A whistleblower," Jack corrected. "Someone brave enough to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult." Jump drive charged, the ship's AI announced, translating in 3, 2, 1. The stars outside stretched into lines, then vanished altogether as the ship entered whatever dimension humans used for faster-than-light travel. Grastuk felt a strange calm settle over him. His old life was gone. What remained was choice. "If I help you, what guarantee do I have that your people won't use this virus as a weapon?" "That Zoltan wasn't right?" "None," Jack answered honestly. "Except my word. And the fact that we are trusting you with our biggest secret. Mutual assured destruction, if you will." Michaela approached, the container now secured in a larger stasis unit. "The virus is stable. Our scientists can begin production as soon as we reach Earth." "And save your species," Grastuk said. "And save our species," she confirmed. Grastuk thought of the prison of 15 cycles spent guarding secrets he didn't understand, of a government willing to sacrifice its own people to maintain those secrets. "I need to contact someone first," he said finally. "Someone who can help spread the truth within the Dominion." Jack smiled, a real smile this time, reaching all the way to those strange blue eyes. "Welcome aboard, Officer Grastuk." "Just Grastuk now," he corrected. "I think my officer days are behind me." "Good," Jack said, extending his small, 5-fingered hand in what Grastuk recognized as a human greeting gesture. Because where we are going, chains are the last thing you will need to worry about. Grasstook reached out his own hand, completing the gesture. And the screams? Jack's expression turned serious. Those depend entirely on who's listening when the truth comes out. The ship hurtled through the void, carrying its unlikely crew toward an uncertain future, a future where the lines between prisoner and guard, villain and hero, had blurred beyond recognition. And Grasstook, former security officer of the most secure prison in the Var Dominion, found himself exactly where he never expected to be.